Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do palettes that surprised me, ones that I liked or used more than I thought I would, and then I have a few that I thought I would like or that I thought would be decent, and then they turned out to not be. Some of these are older, I've had them for a while. Some of these are newer that I acquired this year, so I figured I would do a mixture of both because I think I've done a video similar to this before, but I think it's been a little while, so I just pulled out a bunch. So if that sounds interesting, stick around. If you are new, welcome. Take a moment, make sure you are subscribed if you're not already. Also give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, let's jump into the video. Okay, so I have a pile here. And we are going to just work our way down the pile. These are not in any particular order, so there will be some that are good, some that are bad. Let's start off with one that surprised me. So this is the Haunted palette from Gourmand Girls. This was their new palette for Halloween. I actually used this a bunch, probably 3 or 4 times, which is a lot for me with a new palette. Usually I use it one time and then won't touch it again for a while, if at all. But I ended up reaching for this a lot. We had our youngest baptized, and this is the palette that I used for the makeup for that. And yeah, I just really was impressed. Gourmand Girls doesn't have my favorite matte formula. I think the shimmers in this are stunning. I've talked about this before, and I don't want it to come across like I don't like their palettes, but I have found out that their mattes work better with a lighter base. So I tended to go in with a white primer instead of the flesh tone one that I normally use. It's a little bit tacky. And then always use a glitter glue, but that I seem to get better results. And again, I reached for this one quite a bit. One that I was a little disappointed in initially was the one that they did last year, the Spooked. I love the color story of this, but again, it could have been the primer that I was using last year. I used it twice and was just kind of meh with as far as the mattes, but I used it this year a couple of times and much better experience. So my eyeshadow primer that I was using last year may have been old because I did replace my flesh toned one. I used the Gerard Clean Canvas, so in Fair. And then I did get a shade in white in a subscription box. So again, this seems to do better with a wet base that's a little bit lighter. So that's just been my experience, but this one I thought was much better this year than it was last year. And I was a little disappointed last year because this is a really cool, like, Halloween color story. So I'm glad that my opinion has changed. Again, they don't have my end-all be-all matte formula, which is fine. I still do buy from the brand. They have a new palette out. It's called, I think, Silent Night. I did not pick it up only because I got the Christmas Eve palette from Odin's Eye. This palette has sold out and they are not bringing it back. But if you like this color story, Gourmand Girls has one that's almost identical. It's got the blues and the yellow. So if you missed out on this from Odin's Eye, Gourmand Girls does have one. Again, I didn't pick it up because their matte formula to me is fine. And I already had bought this, so didn't need 2 palettes with the same color story. One that surprised me last year was the Merry Christmas. I have used this a bunch throughout the entire year. This is my top, like, if I had to pick 5 favorite palettes, this one would probably be 1 or 2, which let me know if you want me to do a top 5 or 10 all-time favorite in my entire collection palettes. This one would be ranked quite high. Again, I use this around Christmas time. I didn't do my makeup a lot last year because we just had our 3rd baby, so she was little, and then our other daughter, the middle one, is 1, she's now 2. So yeah, I didn't wear makeup a lot, but when I did use this, and then again use this throughout the year. I ended up taking this with me when we went to Flagstaff to take the kids to the North Pole experience. This is the only palette that I used. I brought 3, and this is the only one that I ended up using. So as much as I liked the color story going into this, definitely exceeded my expectations. And again, they did bring, these were the 2 that they launched last year. They brought them back this year. I had only bought this one. I bought this one this year. These two have sold out. I don't think they're bringing them back, unfortunately. So if you missed out, I do apologize, but this was really good. They do still have the 2 new Christmas ones from this year available. I just checked. So if you want the Snow Dream or the Reindeer palette, those ones are available still. Here's a little quad that surprised me. I think I got this in a subscription box. This is a ColourPop quad. This is in Mocktail. These are really good. I have another one. It's kind of in a pink mauve color story. I think it also came in a subscription box. These I think are better than the e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. I think the e.l.f. palettes are fine. I think I have 3 or 4 of them. I generally use them alongside something else, but if you're going to spend the money, these again are a little bit more than what they charge for the e.l.f., but they're a million times better. So if you're looking for something small, ColourPop a lot of times will have these on sale. I've been looking at the Aquarius one because I think it's on sale for like $6, but these are really, really good quality. I was surprised. One from Laura Lee, and I did talk about this in my Christmas palettes video, and my friend Christine told me she was able to pick one up, I think on Mercari, so you can get these used. I had a bad experience with her Party Animals little 6-pan. It was a bright neon palette. The formula wasn't great. I do have her Nudie Patootie palette, which I liked. This is a really good 6-pan, and I don't know why she hasn't brought this back. There's only 2 mattes. You have a red and a cream. Now, this does feel a little bit dry, but the pigmentation on this is outstanding. And the shimmers are all good. I have a little bit of like dye seepage around the edge, but there's nothing wrong with these shimmers. I still reach for this. And again, this is fantastic, and I was blown away. I was so surprised. And when I first got this, I used this a bunch. A new one from this year that surprised me was the Wicked Widow Graveyard Smash. I was super excited to try this brand because I've been eyeballing this brand. They have an Edward Scissorhands palette that's larger. It's a little bit pricey. It's around $55. And then they have one in the same size Alice in Wonderland theme that I have looked at. I think these run around $36, so they're a little bit cheaper. But it's a really nice formula. The matte formula is nice. There's a couple of, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, like duochromes in here. Sometimes if you hold it up in the light correctly, like this one and this one are duochromes, and then I think the other 2 are just metallics, but really, really nice formula, good pigmentation. And for being so small, I've been able to do a lot with it. So pleasantly surprised. This is an old one, and this has been a favorite of mine for a long time, but I don't know that this would make it into the top 5. So let me know, again, if you want to see like top 5 or 10 favorite palettes of all time, because as much as I love this palette, I don't know that it would make it into the list. I'd have to think about it, but this is one that I thought was ugly when I saw promo pictures for. I ended up buying it for the packaging, and then also I kept seeing people turn out some really pretty looks. It was sold out for a long time when I got it. I was able to get it on Poshmark for about $5 more than what you could have gotten it on his website. Somebody had gotten it as a gift and didn't want it, so I was able to get it. Again, the markup wasn't too bad. You can still get this one on Poshmark and Mercari if you keep an eye out. People do like to price gouge this because it's not available, but there are people that you can get a good deal. You just have to check more frequently, but it's much prettier in person than the pictures online made it look. And again, I've never done a bad look with this palette. Every look that I've done has always been really pretty. I've always gotten compliments on the looks that I've done with this. It's a neutral palette with a twist. The packaging's a little bit like, I wish these eyes were flat. I don't mind the roundness of it, but because these are raised, it makes storing things on top a little bit difficult, but I do still really like this palette. One that I was disappointed, I think this is my last disappointed one. Yeah, the other 3 are good. I hadn't tried, this is the only palette that I've ever owned from Kylie Cosmetics. It seemed like it got decent reviews, but I've only used the greens. and the green, I should say greens. I used this shade and this cream shade up here. What is it called? Face Your Fears. And then it looks like I dipped into like these 3 shimmers, and that's it. But it's made me not, I think I used a little bit of this one too. Not used any of the reds, but it's made me not want to go back and reuse this palette because this was the driest, patchiest, most difficult green shade that I've ever used. Now, granted, I did get it a year after it launched. I bought it because it was on sale. I think I got this for around 20 bucks. So I did not pay full price for it, thankfully, because I would have been mad. Now, you'll say, oh, well, it was a year old. I have palettes that are going on 10 years that still perform. I have the original Urban Decay Electric palette. That is an old palette. I used it within the last 6 months. It was fine. So for a palette to only be 1 or 2 years old isn't old enough to me that it should be doing this. So I think it was a formulation issue from the get-go. And again, I saw decent reviews, but most of the reviews that I saw, people were using the reds. So I do probably need to go back and use this again. It's just when you have a difficult experience, and I filmed it, the video is up on my channel if you want to see the struggle process. The look came out really pretty in the end, but it was a struggle. So if you want to check that video out, it is on my channel. But yeah, I was just disappointed. It's made me not want to buy anything from her again because I've always thought that her palettes were overpriced for what they are. And so and the packaging's really cool. It just made me a little bit sad. One that surprised me, and this is an old holiday palette, I think from 2 years ago. This is the Too Faced. I don't know what it's called. There's an Arctic, I think it's a bear. I always want to call this a snow fox, but I don't know if this is a fox or a polar bear. I can't quite tell. But this is one I was super disappointed in the fact that it has 3 pressed glitters. I didn't know it had pressed glitters when I bought it. However, they're really nice pressed glitters. And this is another one where the formula, I got lucky, and the formula on this one's really good. So if you can get this one used and you like this color story, it's really nice. This is another one that I've used it maybe 5 or 6 times, which is quite a lot for the volume of palettes that I have. Never done a bad look. All the looks have been really pretty. I get a bunch of compliments on it. It still performs. Like I said, the glitters are nice. So I was surprised at how good that was. And then we have 2 from Nomad. These are both from my friend Christine. She sent me this one. This was the Haunted Europe. This was their Halloween palette from last year, and it's not available. I have heard that they're planning on bringing this back next October. So if you missed out, it should be available. But I always thought this was pretty, but Nomad's shimmers years ago were not as amazing as they are now. So I went into this not thinking that, I knew I wanted it just because so many people have talked about it, but I love it. And then here she sent me the Ghost Town one for my birthday. Around my birthday. It was like an early birthday present kind of a thing. I've used this a bunch for work. It's a really nice, like, one shadow in the crease, one shimmer all over the lid. I've used a couple of, have I just used the browns? I think so. I tend to stay on this side just because when I go to work in the salon, I work with a lot of seniors, but I have used like these 2 shimmers over here, but really, really nice formula. And again, same thing with this. I've used this one a bunch. I tend to stick to this side with like the mauves. I don't think I've used the orange or the green. I have used the khakis and the brown. And then again, more of the purpley mauves over here. But again, really pretty, really user, like beginner friendly. The formula isn't like overly pigmented. You can build it, which is nice. And then the shimmers are just pretty. So I definitely like this better than some of the older palettes that I had there. I know there was a couple I decluttered because the shimmer formula was just not my favorite, but these ones are really, really good. So I did not expect to love these as much as I do. And again, I use them all the time for work. So yeah, that is everything. Let me know if you have any palettes that surprised you, good or bad. And then also let me know if you want to see my top we'll say 10, just because of how many palettes that I have. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you in another video very soon. Bye, everybody.